You notice it first in the smallest moments. A slight hesitation before a door closes. You step back. You mutter sorry, even though no one was in your way. It's almost automatic, a flicker before thought. You barely hear it yourself, but the words are there. They carry no anger, no real mistake. Just a quiet impulse. It happens at the grocery store too. Someone bumps your cart. Your lips part before your brain catches up. Sorry. And then a pause, a scan of their face. They barely registered it, but you did. Something in you needed the apology, even if the world didn't. I catch myself doing it at work. A misstep in a meeting, a slightly off word, a sentence that lands flat. Sorry. It slips out, and for a moment, I wonder if I've actually broken anything. Usually not. And yet, the pattern persists. It is strange how invisible this habit feels. You notice it most when you stop noticing anything else. The quiet room, the hum of fluorescent lights, the soft shuffle of feet across carpet. You apologize for taking up space. Not to be polite, not exactly, but to fill some invisible ledger of human interaction, one you only ever glance at in passing. Sometimes it comes with the phone. A late reply, a message sent too quickly, a tone misread. Sorry, and you press send without thought. The smallness of it feels necessary, as if a tiny acknowledgement of the world's subtle judgment keeps everything from tipping. And yet, when I think about it later, alone, it doesn't feel small at all. It feels like a gesture toward survival. A way to make friction invisible before it appears. A quiet calibration of self against other. You do it without naming it, without permission to pause. There are moments at home too. You say sorry to the empty chair across from you. A forgotten chore, a fleeting irritation. The apology floats into the air. It lands nowhere. Perhaps it is for you as much as anyone else. Or maybe only for the habit of speaking before thinking, before feeling. It is easy to feel kindness in the act, but there is a subtle undertone, almost like a questioning. Am I too much? Too abrupt? Too slow? The words become a probe into your own presence, not theirs. And here is the curious part. Sometimes when someone else apologizes to you quickly, you notice it, you hear it, and your mind stiffens. There is a familiarity in their haste. You recognize it instantly, and yet, you never say anything, because recognition itself is quietly dangerous. It draws you into your own reflection. I wonder if we carry this across years without awareness. A rehearsal of gestures learned from moments we cannot trace. A pattern that quietly shapes the way we move through the world, and only rarely, when alone, do we glimpse it fully. There is a dissonance too. You apologize for mistakes you have not made, and then hesitate when someone expects an apology you owe. The rhythm is not conscious. It is a shadow moving behind your own sense of what is fair, what is noticed, what is acceptable. And sometimes, just sometimes, you pause in a conversation and catch the shape of your own impulses. You hear the echoes of every automatic apology, and a subtle tension rises. It is not shame, exactly. It is awareness. That quiet click of recognition. That feeling that perhaps your habit has more to do with keeping yourself contained than keeping others comfortable. The awareness settles, shifts, and then you are back in the moment. Someone asks a small question, you answer. The room moves. And yet, that inner tremor lingers. It is almost imperceptible, but you feel it beneath the day, under the coffee steam, under the car horns. I notice it in silence too. Waiting for an elevator, standing in line, walking past someone in a quiet hallway. A collision of invisible space triggers it. Sorry, and you wonder, not for the first time, if anyone else would have even noticed. And yet, the words form anyway, a pattern quietly rehearsed over years, learned from fragments of childhood, from the echo of voices that suggested you are never fully safe taking up space. Even in brief social exchanges, the words appear before thought. A misread expression, shift in tone, subtle edge in someone's voice. Sorry. And then a flicker of self-questioning follows. Did I misstep? Did I interrupt? Did I exist too loudly in that moment? It is hard to trace where it begins. It feels embedded in the marrow of ordinary interaction, a quiet measure of the distance between being and being acceptable. And when you notice it, you notice the space it occupies in your own mind, the small sway between instinct and observation, between impulse and presence. Sometimes it occurs in the quiet hours at night. You rehearse the day in memory, and each apology echoes differently in the empty room. Each one a note, a pause, a shadow of caution you scarcely recognized in daylight. It is here you realize the depth of the pattern, the subtle repetition that has moved through years unnoticed. In traffic, someone cuts in. Sorry, murmured under your breath. And then you notice, you are both passengers in invisible routines. Their action, your words, a silent negotiation. Neither of you requested a tea home. You drop a fork. Sorry, again. To the floor, to the sound, to the air. The apology moves without expectation. It is not a bridge, not a bomb, not a performance. Just a small acknowledgement of the tremor of life around you. I catch myself questioning it sometimes. Why this compulsion to smooth edges that are not sharp? Why this quiet insistence that my presence should always be tempered? It is a strange mirror, and when I look too long, the reflection is uncertain. Somewhere in conversation, a friend bristles. I apologize. And in that instant, I notice the strange weight of it. The apology is both a shield and an exposure. You admit something you may not have done. You reveal a vulnerability you did not intend. And then the moment passes. Only later do you consider how it felt to step into that space without thought. It occurs to me that this pattern is not just about courtesy or kindness. It is a subtle map of inner caution, a navigation through expectation, judgment, and memory. You apologize too quickly because it has become an automatic alignment, a habitual deference, a quiet experiment in being tolerated. Even as I observe it, I hesitate to frame it. It is not a fault. It is not a lesson. It is an echo of human behavior that we rarely interrogate, a rhythm we follow before we understand the beat. And yet, in certain moments, the pattern exposes itself. You apologize for a thought you voiced too sharply, and then, in the same breath, you pause at someone else's gentle remark. You feel the discrepancy. You wonder if the world expects the apology, or if your own nervous system has quietly scripted it. There are times I try to catch myself, to breathe before the words leave my mouth, and I fail. The habit is already in motion. It is a soft, invisible sway, cognitive pattern that quietly shapes your life. You feel it, recognize it, and yet continue to move along the same lines. I notice it in the morning, too. In the shower, in the mirror, a reflection not just of my face, but of every soft apology uttered in invisible corridors. Each one a record of caution, tiny alignment with unseen expectations. And in that reflection, there is both recognition and wonder. Perhaps that is the point. Not the apology itself, not the words, not even the perceived impact, but the recognition that we carry these impulses unexamined, that they form the undercurrent of so many interactions, that they subtly contour our presence without any conscious consent. And the strange, quiet revelation comes. The habit is a map of something deeper, not your failures, not your politeness, but your subtle accounting of how you exist in relation to others. Every sorry is a note of observation, a record of tension, a soft acknowledgement that life is negotiated constantly and silently. Even when you try to sit still, even when you try to speak with certainty, the habit is there, waiting in the margin of sentences, in the fold of a gesture, in the tilt of your head. It is less about apology and more about awareness, a quiet tuning into the invisible laws of presence, and when you notice it fully, without judgment, without the need to change it, it lingers. A soft awareness in the background of thought. It is not discomfort exactly, but a subtle recognition that the way you move through the world is a collection of tiny, almost invisible patterns. You cannot stop it entirely. You cannot trace it completely, and yet, you can watch it. A quiet observation that begins in a single apology, extends across hours, days, interactions you never fully cataloged. And maybe, just maybe, that is enough to feel something new. The last apology leaves the room. The sound of it is gone, but the shape remains. You notice it in your hands, in the pause before speech, in the small weight of being present. And the thought that rises quietly, without insistence, is that perhaps the habit is not yours alone, and perhaps it never needed to be fixed. And in that noticing, the room feels slightly larger, the air slightly different. You feel both smaller and more expansive at once.